The federal government continues to face strong backlash from both citizens and premiers about the pause in the vaccine rollout because of a pause in the delivery of vaccines from Pfizer, and also concerns about just how swiftly overall the vaccine will be delivered. I spoke earlier to the Deputy Prime Minister and our Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, and started right there with some of the concerns that she's hearing about the vaccination program.
First of all, I think it's important for us to all appreciate that just as in the spring, the whole world was in a mad scramble for PPE in the spring of 2021, the whole world is in a mad race for vaccines. The good news is Canada has been getting ready for this for months and months and months. We have hedged our bets. We have not put all our eggs in one basket. We have deals with 7 different vaccine manufacturers. And I can assure you, Amanda, and all Canadians, that this is a 24/7 effort. It is pedal to the metal. We are talking to them. It's also a whole of government effort. We are talking to these vaccine companies, Pfizer and Moderna for sure, but also the other companies that have not yet been approved, but with whom we have contracts constantly to be sure Canada gets our vaccines. And in fact, in just the past few days, the Prime Minister has spoken to the CEOs of Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Moderna, and we're just going to keep talking and keep pushing.
We understand that almost 22 million Americans have been vaccinated with their first shot, and that is a goal that would basically blanket Canada. What do you say to people who say we're clearly behind, that whatever plan we laid out wasn't fast enough?
What I say to Canadians is we have to play the long game here. We have the most extensive, most diverse vaccine portfolio in the world, and this is a team effort. I totally understand the urgency that Canadians feel. Our government feels it. I feel it. And we just have to work together and keep on working together until we get Canadians vaccinated. I want to give people some specific reassurance. Every Canadian who wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated by September. We are confident of that, and we're confident we're going to get 6 million doses of vaccines in the first quarter of this year.
We do have these fast-moving variants, which, of course, and now we think maybe even deadlier. The travel restrictions we think may be coming, the Prime Minister said soon. How far can you go, and what should we do to make sure people stop? Because we know that through that last year, they really didn't stop non-essential travel.
Well, we do have tough travel restrictions in place, and we know that they have restricted travel because there's a lot less travel happening than there was before. Having said that, our government absolutely believes that with these new variants out there, now is the time to impose further restrictions, to toughen up at the border, and that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to reveal precisely what we're going to do, but that it is a real priority for our government. The Prime Minister and Cabinet are working on this really, really urgently, and it's something that we think we need to do.
There is this new program for particularly hard-hit industries, government-backed credit program. Is that expected to help airlines, or should we look for something, at long last, specifically targeted to airlines, which will only additionally be hurt by new restrictions?
So the program for hard-hit industries, which we announced we were going to put in place, we announced in the Fall Economic Statement in November we were going to put that program in place. We're now revealing details of that program. And I'll just remind everyone, Amanda, that is for loans of up to $1 million with 100% government guarantee at favorable terms. So the conversation with airlines is distinct, and that is something that is happening right now. Transport finance, we are hard at work. And you're right, Amanda, we recognize that these additional travel restrictions and the fact that the government is saying, directly to Canadians, do not travel now, that has implications for our conversation with airlines. I would also remind all Canadians and really reassure all Canadians that a priority for our government is to ensure that everyone who has had their trips canceled gets reimbursed.
I want to just talk about what's happened the last few days with new President Joe Biden, and that includes, and I think you're probably better placed than anyone in government to understand how, what's on the page matters, because you were at the NAFTA renegotiations. But we have these Buy American provisions. We have the final nail in the coffin for Keystone. What does that add up to? How worrisome is it in terms of the tone being set here?
Well, let me start by talking about Buy America. And I think it is very important for Canadians to take note of the decision President Biden took, that his first call to a foreign leader was to Canada. It was a conversation with Prime Minister Trudeau, and Prime Minister Trudeau raised Buy America in that conversation. On Buy America more generally, I think it is so important for us to remember that the devil is in the detail with Buy America provisions. And, trade with the United States, it's always very complicated. Protectionism in the United States is a bipartisan issue. But what our government has found is if you roll up your sleeves and do the real work, the Team Canada work of explaining carefully to our American partners the specifics of trade between Canada and the United States, going into specific sectors, specific transactions, specific deals. Our American partners very quickly appreciate that the trade between Canada and the United States is not like the trade between the U.S. and any other country. Our economies are intertwined, they are mutually dependent, and the trade between our two countries is mutually beneficial. You have to do the work to make that case, but we've been effective so far, and I have no doubt we will continue to be effective. And just final thought on the Buy America stuff, Amanda. When Americans talk about Buy America provisions, they're really not thinking, I'm talking in a broad political sense. The objective is not to exclude Canada. The objective is really about other countries where American workers, American voters are more worried about unfair competition. So there is a lot of work. I am not minimizing that at all, but it's work we as a government and as a country know how to do, and we're already at it.
I know we're basically out of time here, Minister, but I have to ask you, you're in pre-budget consultations. I know you're casting kind of a wide net with a lot of potential spending on stimulative of aspects. What's the most creative thing you think you might do in a spring budget?
Well, I want to hear creative ideas from Canadians, and I'm really serious about that, Amanda. I know what the objective of the budget this year needs to be. It needs to be jobs, 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 and growth, growth, growth. That is what our economy is going to need. That's what our country is going to need. That's what the Canadian middle class is going to need to put the COVID recession behind us. And it is such a consequential moment for our country that I am really, really keen and committed to hearing ideas from Canadians from coast to coast to coast. So please, I hope people will really participate in this consultation, in this effort.